the time has come. This is hands down my most requested paranormal figure, the spookiest woman in history, La Llorona. Let's do it. Let's talk about La Llorona.
I'm so excited. I can't even contain it.
So La Llorona is sometimes called the Weeping Woman or the Wailer.
Ooh.
And she has one purpose: to drown children.
Oh, shit.
She spends her afterlife roaming waterfront areas, wailing into the night and searching for children to drag, leaving them screaming on their way to their own watery grave.
Oh,
okay,
no.
so we thought it was going to be lighthearted. It's not.
We're like, this is going to be a great episode for the girls. Sorry, women. Jesus, you better use that BetterHelp ad and take it to heart because Jesus Christ.
She has been spotted. She has been spotted.
I just snorted into the mic. Oh my God, our table's falling. This is just tragic. Okay, we're good. Get it together. Get it together. I can't even drink my drink. Why is this table falling? What's happening? Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Guys, this is tragic.
I can't even see out of my eyes. They're so watery.
They're like, what is happening? A breakdown. A mental breakdown is happening. We're so tired.
Oh, man.
These are big cases. Jesus. We should have done this on International Men's Day or some shit.
Man, okay. So, La Llorona has been...
I gotta press pause. Let us get it together. We'll come right back.
All right.
Okay.
I think we're good now.
We're
good. She has been spotted as a tall, thin spirit with long black hair. She wears a white gown and her face is usually covered with like a sheer piece of fabric, like a wedding veil almost.
A veil, yeah.
The origin of La Llorona varies, and we can't even pinpoint the time that she really started showing up. And there are many, many versions of La Llorona. So I'm going to kind of just be like going through a lot of those. Then I have a super creepy story for you guys at the end.
Yes.
One origin traces her back to the Aztecs, which
Oh.
I think this is like really dope. You don't
Yeah.
see this often.
Yeah.
During this time, there were 10 omens that would predict the conquest of Mexico. She has been compared to a fertility goddess, one of the 10, called Cihuacoatl, or the Snake Woman.
Oh.
The Snake Woman was described as a savage beast and an evil omen who would wear white, walk about the night, and constantly crying. But not only does La Llorona have similarities with the Cihuacoatl, but also another goddess called the Chalchiotl, whose name means she of the jade skirt.
Oh.
This goddess, Chalchiotl, I'm mispronouncing everything this episode.
Sorry, Marley.
I have my pronunciation helps in there. It's just
I
took 2 years of Spanish, and Senor Stone, it's obviously not working.
Yeah,
so
obviously it's not. And I took French, and Jesus Christ,
it's just not there for
No.
us. So this goddess would oversee the waters and was actually really feared by the Aztec people because she would just like drown people often.
Okay.
So I guess in honor of her passing, so she ended up passing. After her passing, the Aztecs began to sacrifice children by drowning.
Got it.
So it is possible that La Llorona could date back to Aztec time, which I already said this, but I think it's actually incredible because most spirits and legends are like started in like, the 1800s,
Right.
1700s, but like to date all the way back to the freaking 1300s, a legend like that is actually kind of terrifying.
Yeah, that's scary because then A, it's been around for a long time, and then B, it's obviously very powerful that it's been able to affect this many generations.
Right. For the story to continue carrying on the way
Right.
it does, like that is really shows some truth.
It's
to
not
the
a
legend.
campfire story.
Right. Like
Yeah.
it just shows some truth. The second possible origin story of Miss La Llorona dates back to the 16th century with the arrival of the Spanish in America. So in this version, a native woman named Marina, who was this interpreter, she was a guide, she was a beautiful human being, plays La Llorona. This native woman was known as La Malinche. I probably said that wrong, sorry. And after serving as an interpreter and guide, she became the mistress to the Hernan Cortez. I'm sure you know who that is.
Yeah.
Who was a conquistador from Spain who actually conquered the Aztecs and claimed Mexico.
Oh, wow.
Marina was actually one of the 20 enslaved women who were given to the Spaniards.
Oh.
But Hernan Cortez saw her for her beauty and later Marina gave birth to his first son, Martin.
Oh, so they like actually were together. It wasn't
like he was
forcing?
like, you'll be my mistress. Yeah.
Oh, okay,
like they were like, I mean, I'm
I don't
sure
know.
she was like, it's probably a better way for me to be
live.
here.
Yeah.
So Martine, their child, was actually one of the first to have parents of European and Indigenous American descent.
Wow, that is amazing.
Isn't that
That
cool?
is so cool. I love that fun fact. Thank you.
Yeah, Marina basically went against her own people and aided in shifting their social and political societies because Hernan Cortez was from Spain. He's from
Right.
Europe. So therefore, she was pretty much rejected from her own people. And this didn't bug her because she was with the great big conquistador from
Yeah.
Spain, you know? Like, she was
Right.
like, well, whatever. Like, I'm
Yeah.
his mistress. Like, I have a child with him. Until she wasn't. Eventually, Hernan Cortez left her and married a Spanish woman.
Of course he
In
did.
a rage of vengeance, she then murdered her own child simply because he was the child of Hernan Cortez.
Holy shit.
So maybe La Llorona is just a pissed off mistress to Hernan Cortez, but a lot of people believe in a different origin. And this next one is the most popular. So again, even in in each version, the details vary per version, but also per person by person. So this one is the most common one I've seen, but I'm sure what I tell you here today and what maybe your great grandmother has told you since you
Right.
were a baby, it's going to be different.
Yeah, definitely.
So this is just like the most common one I saw in my research. And it speaks of a story focusing on a young peasant woman named Maria. I hate using the word peasant. Why do I always have to use the word peasant?
Because you do ghosts and shit.
Yeah.
That's why.
I just hate it.
And you talk
You
about history all the
peasant.
time. You literally, I swear to God, you could be a historian if you wanted to, about the amount of shit that lives up in your noggin now.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Aztecs.
Yeah.
Maria was a drop dead, gorgeous girl.
Gorgeous girls.
Filled with such natural beauty. She was very poor and lived in a rural village where she would tend the small amount of livestock that her father had on his small farm. One day, when Maria was a teenager or a young adult, there was a young man who was passing through the village. He had been there to hunt and ultimately had asked Maria's father if his hunting crew could stay on his farm.
Okay.
When Maria saw him, she was instantly, madly in love with him.
Oh.
And apparently, he felt the same way because that same night, he asked her to marry him.
Oh, whoa.
In a day.
I met you.
Be my wife.
I saw
Let's
you
court.
2 hours ago. I didn't even talk to you.
Right, but let's court.
Let's get together.
Let's fuck.
Immediately.
The two then got married, and the man moved to her village and built a small home for him and her. They were the happiest couple in the world, and eventually Maria gave birth to her 2 boys. Legend says that Maria shared her beauty with the boys because they were some of the most flawless kids ever. Like
Oh,
they
I
were
would
just
love
like
to meet
gorgeous
them.
boys. You know, like a pretty boy.
Yeah. Some e-boys.
Yeah.
I'm in love with it. Literally.
As the years went by and her boys started to grow up, Maria's husband started to come around less and less. And every time that Maria asked him where he had been, there was just never any good answer.
Oh, Jesus.
And it had came to a point where he was out of the house more times than he was there. Maria wanted answers, so she followed him one day. She silently crept behind him as they walked through the woods and eventually into a clearing. She watched behind a tree as he met with another younger woman and began being very intimate with her. Filled with rage, Maria ran through the woods back towards her small village. While on her run back, her dress was caught on branches, tearing it off and only leaving behind her pure white slip that she wore underneath. Once in the village, she spotted her children playing in a nearby lake. When she saw them, all she could see was the face of her husband, the guy who had just betrayed her. Crying and wailing of rage, she held her children underwater until they drowned.
Oh, my God.
When she returned back home, she found her husband sitting there, who she then told what she had just done, to which he replied that he will never, ever love her again. With immediate regret, she ran back to the lake to retrieve their bodies, but the current had picked up by then and had them swept away. She walked into the water, sobbing, and vowed that she would take any children that she found to replace as her own, and she would try to kill whoever attempted to stop her. She then drowned herself, her spirit never leaving Earth, always in search for replacements of her babies. And actually, the story goes on to say that when Maria showed up at the gates of heaven, they had denied her access until she found her children.
Oh.
So they trapped her in like the in-between or
yeah,
whatever you want to call it. And since then, Maria, or La Llorona, has been picking random children that may allow her to finally rest in peace.
Wow, this
so
sounds
if that's
like
the case. That's like really like kind of fucked up of heaven.
well, this just sounds like it's written by a man.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so she sees you cheating on her, fucking another girl. She goes back and kills her own kids because she's so enraged. And then she comes home. You're sitting there sitting pretty.
All of a sudden, you want to be home.
She admits
you're never home.
You're never here.
And all of a sudden, you want to just be sitting pretty there.
She
at the
doesn't
kitchen
want to
table.
kill your ass. She goes back to try to get her kids and admits to you that she killed her kids. No, she didn't. You probably killed the kids.
Yeah.
And
there's some versions
blamed
that
it
go
on
like
her.
that.
Yeah, definitely. This is like, oh, what are we acting like that a woman would actually do that? Maybe Diane Downs, but like literally what? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. But I have a couple more versions, but just to break these up, I want to talk a little bit about her legend.
Oh.
So La Llorona, in different stories, has been said to kidnap children by water. And also in the Brazil version, she will kidnap and kill children in the jungle. So she's often spotted in the jungle. And if you were to hear her cries, you are supposed to run the other way and run the other way immediately. People that have encounters with La Llorona say that she's often floating about like a foot above the ground.
Jesus.
And she will wail, oh my children, but in Spanish.
Oh. I'm like, I don't know what she's saying.
¿Cómo te llamas?
Yeah, like,
Is that what
no,
that says?
Wait.
No, that's what's your name. Oh my god.
What's your name? La Llorona.
What's your name, girl? Also, apparently, if you were to hear her cries, the louder that they are actually means that she is further away from you. And if you hear her call or her cries very quietly, it means that she's like legit right there.
Oh, I hate that because then I'm like,
right,
the laws of sound here,
right? Like you're just really
completely
messing with physics.
Yeah, like this is not right.
Speed of sound.
Yeah, literally.
La Llorona is defying physics.
Yeah.
Some versions say that La Llorona will actually take children that are up past their bedtimes.
Oh, got it.
So parents in Hispanic culture have been said to like tell the story of La Llorona when the kids are young to kind of scare them into going to bed early. And I'm kind of behind this for two reasons. One, your kids go to sleep on time. They're scared shitless. It's kind of funny.
That's funny.
But also, two, you deep down, everyone's actually worried about La Llorona.
Right.
So you're never actually have to worry that she's going to be stealing your kids if they're sleeping.
Yeah, and you just like instill that little seed of fear that will last them a lifetime.
Right. They grow up.
Yeah, and they teach their kids.
They grow up to the partying age and they're home by curfew.
They're like, curfew, she's going to come get me.
I don't want to run into the woman in white.
Yeah.
Woman in white.
It's always a woman in white.
Woman in white or a woman in red. Mm-hmm. That's when you know the stories are real.
Yeah, it's either white or red. I've never seen
if it's like a woman in purple or the woman in green.
Girl, I'd be like, huh, who are you? Fake.
That's what that is.
Imposter.
So, yeah, fair enough though. I'd probably scare my kids with it too. Mm-hmm. Other stories say that she will do like a little home visit if you're not treating your family well. So in this case, La Llorona comes to find you. So if you're a child that's out of line and disrespecting their parents, La Llorona will come and like give you an ass whooping. Yeah. Probably you'll never see your kids again, but they'll get their ass whooping and they'll probably
learn a lesson, die.
Yeah, they'll learn their lesson and die.
Yeah, and not be able to actually grow from that. But
right,
yeah,
exactly. There is an Arizona version of La Llorona about a woman named Lana. Look at that. Launa.
Why are you showing me like I'm going to do a better job?
I'm just going to call her Lana. Lana lived with her lover boy near a canyon about 3 miles south of Kingman, Arizona. Her lover had agreed to marry her, built a cabin for her, and gave her his 2 children from a previous marriage.
Oh.
So the 2 children were not Lana's. Lana, though, was always a little bit jealous of the children, kind of like Nancy.
Yeah.
Saying that her lover gave too much attention to the girls, and Lana was always finding herself very, very envious of them. So one night, she took the girls to the edge of a canyon nearby and pushed them over.
Oh, God.
Of course, she came back home only to claim it was just an accident, but their father knew how jealous she was of them, and he didn't believe her story.
Yeah, me either.
He knew that she was responsible for his baby girls' deaths. He left her shortly after this, knowing that she was just a crazy, jealous biatch who was definitely guilty of murder. And again, immediately after realizing that he had left her, Lana regretted what she had done. She then walked herself to the same canyon and threw herself off the same ledge.
It's like La Llorona with a Parent Trap twist.
A little bit, yeah. What's that woman's name?
Meredith Blake.
Meredith
Blake
is La Llorona.
Probably. Maybe. I wonder where that story came from.
Crazy.
Crazy.
Ever since then, Lana has wandered the canyon. You can hear her cries echoing through the canyon walls anytime between midnight and 3 a.m.
Ooh.
She will take possession of anyone that she can find in her canyon and force them to join her in eternal grief.
Dun, dun.
Which, this one I find really interesting in Arizona because it's not near any water.
Yeah.
Like, the legend of La Llorona is strictly based on water.
Drowning.
Drowning. And this one, like, I think Arizona was kind of like,
we're left out.
We're a little left out. Let's figure out a way that we can make this, like, totally Arizona only.
They're like, we don't get the water,
How
babies.
about Lana in a canyon?
Yeah. Duh.
Boom.
Drags you back into the canyons.
Boom.
100%. That's how they did
Hear
it.
her cries through the echoes.
Yep.
Also, La Llorona reminds me of Banshee a little bit, but
maybe
that's for
she's
another
maybe she works on the golf courses there that have the man-made ponds.
Yeah. That Zac Efron and Vanessa Hudgens
bet on it. That one.
That one.
Yeah, I think so.
Me too. Sorry, I lost where I was because that was hectic.
Yeah.
Another version of the La Llorona is focused around a beautiful native princess, Dona Luisa de Liveros, who fell in love with a handsome Spanish nobleman, Don Nuna de Montesclaros. I think that's right.
Got it.
So Princess Luisa loved Don deeply and ended up having 2 children, but Don refused to marry her. He decided that she would be best as a mistress. So he kept her as a side piece and continued on about his little hunt for a wife. Eventually, Don deserted Luisa and married another woman. And actually, Luisa found this out because she pulled up to Don's wedding without knowing that he was getting married and watched as her lover married another woman.
I would freak.
The princess went mad, found her 2 children, and stabbed them.
Her 2 children?
Her 2 children.
They didn't belong to him?
They were both of their children.
Oh, okay, got it.
That was Donna and Luisa's children. Authorities then found her wandering the street, sobbing in a white gown that was covered in her children's blood.
Jesus.
She was charged with infanticide. I think that's how you say it, like infant, but homicide.
Infancy.
Infanticide.
We'll just say homicide of an infant.
Homicide of an infant, and then sent to the gallows to be executed. Ever since then, the ghost of La Llorona, or Luisa, walks the country at night in her bloody dress, crying out for her murdered children. Any child she comes in close proximity with, she carries it away with her to live a life full of vengefulness. There's a couple versions of this story that Luisa actually drowned her children instead of stabbed, which makes a little more sense as to why she would be La Llorona.
Right.
And there's a change of pace here with yet a different version that says Don actually drowned his own kids.
I believe that.
To hide from his wife that he had a mistress and children, with a mistress. He had children with a mistress, so he killed them.
Yeah.
Leaving Luisa, or La Llorona, sobbing in the afterlife over the death of her 2 children. I believe that one.
Yeah, I believe that one. That's just traumatic.
The next version, almost done, but the next version focuses on a very poor couple. They got married and started having children, but they couldn't afford to feed them. So apparently the husband started drowning his children one by one. They then, I guess, continued having kids, and after the birth of their 5th child, the husband threw the newborn baby into the river. So I'm sorry, you're going to drown your kids off one by one, but you're still going to knock up your wife.
Right.
Takes 2 to tango here.
Right.
She's not just getting pregnant.
Right.
You're the cause. And then she gives birth to the newborn and you snatch it and throw it into the river. Okay.
What?
The mother went in after her newborn only for them both to drown.
Jeez.
She never left the river and, like all, was always in search for her children. Finally, the last version of La Llorona is another woman named Maria, and she was an absolute stunner. A real gorgeous girl. In the evening, she'd dress up, hit the town, flirt with all of the men because everybody was crazy about her. While she was out every single night, her 2 sons sat at home alone, being neglected. Marie's children ended up drowning in the river, leaving many to believe that Maria was actually the one to do it, so that she had no ties that were keeping her home instead of hitting the streets with the guys. And just like every other La Llorona legend, Maria immediately regretted it. She stayed up all night sitting on the bank of the river, and she was not eating. And she slowly, after days and days and days, starved herself and died where her children did. La Llorona's versions vary, saying that she can kill both men, women, and children, but the most common that she kills is children. It is mainly a Hispanic folklore, focusing in South America and southwestern United States. And there's been quite a few movies based on her. The first one, The River, The Legend of La Llorona. The second one, Revenge of La Llorona. And The Curse, the most recent one that we talked about a little bit in the beginning.
Yes.
The Curse of La Llorona. Which is actually what I watched last night. And I shouldn't have, because I'm never going to have children now. If you haven't seen it, spoiler here, but this caseworker, I want to tell you guys a little bit about it, because it's kind of
so
good, but it's like also like not really a good horror film.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of cheesy in a way, like just like the graphics, I guess. But like for being 2019, it should have been done better, but it was still scary.
I think it was meant to look like that, honestly, because I remember thinking that when I was watching
Yeah,
it.
like it was just like cheesy.
Yeah.
And also, I guess it's in the Disney movie Coco.
Oh, really?
La Llorona's in the Disney movie Coco. They have like everything I researched, it would always pop up like La Llorona's song Coco.
I'm gonna have to watch it.
Yeah, me too, because that's like a huge movie about Day of the Dead. I'm pretty sure. I've never seen it. So
And
anyway,
kids.
in The Curse of La Llorona, it's about this caseworker who gets called into a family that she knows pretty well because the boys weren't showing up at school. So when she got to this house, she found that the boys were locked in this closet with candles and like symbols everywhere and protection spells all around the room. But before she opened the door, the boy's mom was pleading and begging the caseworker not to. She just kept saying, one more day, please don't open that. I'm begging you, like screaming, please don't open that. And when the caseworker opened it, she found the two boys hiding in the closet. She took the boys into custody and placed them in a Catholic home for the night. That night, they were found drowned in a nearby river.
What?
Okay, so then, I know. The caseworker has two children of her own, right?
Right.
Who started to see La Llorona and were starting to get attacked by her.
Right.
When the caseworker met with the mother from the original case to ask questions about it, the mother looked at her and said, I prayed to La Llorona to give me my boys back, and I prayed for her to take yours.
Jesus. Why would you do that?
Right, like the caseworker didn't know.
She didn't know.
Anyway, the movie was subpar.
They were, yeah. She's just okay.
It was like, okay, but anyway, to
Yeah.
wrap up, I found an insane Reddit story. And I'm only going to be reading half of it because the first part of the story is more like an explanation of who La Llorona is, which we know a good bit about that by now. So this was posted on a Reddit thread, No Sleep, by user Dino Wolf Dog 8 years ago.
Hell yeah.
It's titled, Some Nights I Still Hear Her Wailing.
Oh, no.
She says, now that you know her story, let me tell you mine. I was a troubled child, and making friends was always difficult. I was bad about wandering off, and I would always find an excuse to be awake after my bedtime. In short, I was a child that all the stories were geared towards. It was one particular night that I had been especially bad to the point where I'd already been spanked with the chancla twice.
Oh.
My mother sent me to bed early, and there were no goodnight kisses to be received, so I did what any other 10-year-old child would do, knowing that no parents would be coming to check up on me. I got out of bed and began to play and make a mess. I knew it must be late out and that it was far beyond my bedtime, but I couldn't be sure of the exact time. But I could hear my father snoring loudly, and that was enough for me to know how late it was. In fact, it was probably because of the snoring that I didn't hear her cries until it was too late for me to run to my bed and pretend to be sleeping.
Oh, God.
It started low, a noise I was so sure that I must be imagining because of all the stories my grandmother told me. When it got louder and closer to my room, I knew it had to be real, though. So I climbed into my bed as I heard scratching on my door, in a voice so sad and desperate that I began to cry. In her wailing tone, she cried out, oh God.
What?
Mijos.
I don't know.
My children
Yeah.
in Spanish. Hasta aquí, or translated to, my children, are you here? At this point, I was shaking my eyes, locked onto my bedroom door as she cried out again, this time saying, Por favor, valva mi, mama es mucho low.
It was
that
a good
good?
job.
Or please come back to me, mama is so sorry.
Wow.
I was crying and screaming for my parents as my door slowly opened and she let out another mournful cry. Lo siento, mi baby.
I'm proud of you.
Mama lo siento. Or, I'm sorry, my babies. Mama is sorry. She pushed open the door, and there she was, in her pure white dress, her long black hair hanging over her face, pale hands covering her eyes. She slowly looked up. Her brown eyes were bloodshot. Her spirit had been crying for so long that now there were tears of blood. I let out an ear-piercing scream as she said something that says, "You have been bad. It is time to come home."
Oh, God.
And that's the moment she came running at me, her arms reaching for me as I shoved my tiny body into a corner, screaming at the top of my lungs. And my father, a true 6'4" bear of a man, came barreling into my room, screaming at her.
Screaming at the La Llorona.
Screaming at La Llorona, saying, this says it in Spanish here, but it translates to, "Leave her the fuck alone, bitch. You will not steal another person that I love." La Llorona,
another.
Yeah. La Llorona turned to him, fury in her eyes, with decaying finger pointed towards her father, and screamed, "You will die for stealing my children." My father collapsed, clutching his already bad heart as he convulsed on my bedroom floor. La Llorona slowly vanished while cackling and sobbing. By the time I woke my mom, the ambulance had arrived. My dad had already passed. It has always broken my heart knowing that he gave his life to save mine. It wasn't until years later, when I was finishing my junior year of high school, that I found out what my dad meant by stealing someone else that he loved. My dad's mother was on her deathbed, and she was telling me the story of her life, including the hidden fact that my dad's brother didn't really die at the age of 6. He was actually stolen. My father insisted for most of his remaining childhood that La Llorona had stolen his brother. My grandmother never believed him, but now I knew the truth of my father's preparedness when the wailing woman stormed into my bedroom. On this day, I am a 20-year-old woman. I have a job. I go to college. I live in a single flat apartment with my cat. In all regards, I am a well-rounded and sensible adult. But to this day, I am always in bed early, always asleep before midnight. Some nights, if I push too far, I still hear her softly sobbing, because she never gives up on finding her children.
I have chills.
What the fuck?
On
So La Llorona killed her father.
I have forehead chills. Oh my God. How traumatic. How fucking rude. Are you serious?
Right?
Oh
Terrifying.
my God. That's so bad.
No, this one, I just think that the legend of La Llorona is like, there's a lot of truth to it. Like you look it up, go on TikTok right now and search La Llorona, and you will see videos of her being spotted. I don't know how real they are, but like they look
I have to go
terrifying.
watch now.
And you can listen to her cry. And it's terrifying.
I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
Maybe we should, though, just in case.
Yeah, just so you know.
Yeah, just so we know what it is and not try to go investigate, because that's some dumb shit we would do.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the case of La
I love
Llorona.
it. Thank you so much. It's been a long time coming. You guys have wanted that one for the longest.
She's got a lot to her.
Yeah,
all right?
a ton. It's so good.